Good morning, East Texas, and happy Thursday. Once again, my name is Tristan Van Beem, and I will be your host for today. Now, I already told you yesterday that I was coming back, and I lived up to that promise. But I will not be here tomorrow, unfortunately. But Haley will be joining us back over here for another show this week. But for today, we have a lot of interesting stuff going on. We have one big story throughout East Texas, and that is an update on the Blue Cross Blue Shield and Christus Health agreement. Um, those two parties have finally came to an agreement, and we are going to see what that means for those who need health insurance throughout East Texas. We're also going to look into a story about Stephen F. Austin State University. There are some women athletes over there who are suing the university for taking away some women's sports throughout the campus. And we are also going to look into a lot of Tyler stories today. I have three stories on Tyler, Texas alone, but that's going to be more towards our what's it called, like 8:45, 8:50 kind of area. So that's a little bit later in the show. And we're switching up a little bit today. We're going to go right into weather after this break. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the stories we have for today. Sorry, y'all, that is the wrong clip. All right, in our first story today, we'll be going over Christus Health and the Blue Cross Blue Shield agreement. Christus Health and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas were originally supposed to come to an agreement by July 1st of this year to decide whether Blue Cross Blue Shield will continue providing insurance for Christus Health patients. The two companies could not come to an agreement by the deadline, so their contract was extended until August 1st, 2025. Both parties continued to negotiate until just before the new deadline and came to an agreement on Wednesday. The insurance company said all Christus Health doctors, hospitals, and other facilities will remain in their network. Christus Health then released this statement to the following agreement. Quote, Christus Health is pleased to announce that we have reached a new contract agreement with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, ensuring that patients can continue to receive in-network care at our hospitals, clinics, and health facilities. Our priority has always been to provide compassionate and high-quality care to all who may need us. We're proud to offer that care without disruption to our patients covered by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Let's go ahead and move on to our second story of the day, which I just talked about. A title lawsuit has been filed against Stephen F. Austin State University after 3 women's sports and 1 men's sport was cut. Women's beach volleyball, bowling, and golf were all among the cut teams, as well as men's golf on Thursday. At the Ward R. Burke Federal Courthouse in Lufkin, teammates from the eliminated beach volleyball and bowling team shared their testimonies. Ryan Allison, who joined the SFA beach volleyball team in spring of 2024, said she was promised she would be able to finish her 4-year contract to completion when she signed with the team. Many of the other athletes said they were given similar promises. The plaintiffs also shared how losing their sport has affected their mental health and lowered campus spirit, in their opinion. When the teams were notified of their cut, it was via a 10-minute Zoom phone call. Many of the athletes felt like this was impersonal. Bowling student athlete KETK said that at the end of the day, quote, it's athletes supporting athletes, end quote. Her goal is to create a better future for all women in sports at SFA. The team was offered assistance with the transferring, but many of them chose not to do so for risk of losing credit hours. SFA is still recognizing all athletic scholarships for the former players in the second half of the day's proceedings. SFA Athletic Director Michael McBroom spoke. He testified that a reason the teams were eliminated was due to three different criterias: lack of student engagement, least impact on enrollment, and poor facilities. McBroom said if SFA could not risk cutting any more men's teams for being at risk of breaking NCAA rules. Every few years, SFA hires an outside Title IX expert, Helen Grant, to audit the procedures and practices of athletics, education, and facilities. This year, Grant found SFA was incompliant with the Title IX by a 60-40 ratio. She told us SFA needs to add 300 female athletes to the university's roster, a nearly impossible task. Grant encouraged the university to eliminate men's indoor track and add a female acrobatics/tumbling team. She added that even if the Even if the eliminated teams were reinstated, SFA would still be at a difficult in meeting a Title IX required headcount. Testimonies in the case are planned to continue until tomorrow in Lufkin. Now, as you just heard the details of that Stephen F. Austin State University case, we can expect to see this to go on for a while, as many lawsuits do. But we will go ahead and move on to our third story of the evening. Let me just get that clip pulled up for you right here. Now, originally, this story was actually shared over to us from one of our sister stations over in Shreveport named KTAL. They work with us a lot and send us over some stories, and we send some over to them. And we really appreciate them covering this story and sharing it over to us. And this kind of just sheds some light on our Texas community, and just kind of lets us know that we're all there for each other. So let's just get right into it. Texarkana nonprofit Restoration of Hope works to give people who are at their lowest a path forward. Their motto is, quote, turning a mess into a message. Brian Minton with the Restoration of Hope said, quote, we woke up one morning and we decided that the flooded victims out in Kerrville, Texas, that they needed just as much help as we did when we were coming out of prison and off the streets from using drugs and so many other things that we were doing in the community that was hurting the community. We decided, you know what? We need to give back to the community, end quote. Once again, that is from Brian Minton with the Restoration of Hope. Moving on with the story, much of the work they were doing was cleaning up debris that would have been impossible for people to deal with on their own. Ambrose Krob with the Restoration of Hope said, quote, I mean, you go down there and there's brush piles and stuff 3 times our height. And I remember there were older sisters and they were just let me start this quote over again. Quote, I mean, you go down there and there's brush piles and stuff that's 3 times our height. And I remember there were older sisters and they're so emotional and like how we're going to do this, end quote. Once again, that is from Ambrose Cobb with Restoration of Hope. They utilized the motivation and skills they learned through Restoration of Hope's program. Another quote from Cobb said, in our organization, these guys, they don't have anything, but what they do have is time and experience. And they came down and they just to work their backsides off and just to help anyone we can, end quote. They say, and by they, I mean Restoration of Hope, says, their purpose is to leave a little hope behind in Kerrville and bring better men back home. Another quote from Minton said, the guys that just came, you see a different type of peace in them. From not doing anything to being something and doing something for other people, and it shines a light within them, end quote. After a short break, they have sent another group back to the area and continue to help us. They said the support that is needed is prayer, but the work they do is only possible with the help of donations, end quote. All right, that was a very impactful story from over there at KTAL, as I just said. Let's go ahead and move on to our fourth and final story of this block. And this is going to be about a pipeline explosion that recently happened over in Rusk County yesterday. And by that, I mean Wednesday. Let's go ahead and hear from some officials and see what went on over in Rusk County. A pipeline explosion has been reported near a church camp in Rusk County on Wednesday. According to John Wayne Valdez, the Rusk County Sheriff, a pipeline explosion was reported at around 4:42 p.m. on Rusk County Road 447 beside Whispering Pines Church Camp that was reportedly not operating at the time. Valdez said the Henderson Fire Department and 3 volunteer fire departments are on the scene. Rusk County ESD No. 1 spokesperson Patrick Dooley said a person was working near the area, hit the pipeline, and a fire ensued. However, the fire has been contained and there were no injuries reported. According to James Dukes with the Laneville Fire Department, they received a call at 4:42 p.m. regarding the pipeline explosion and were all able to contain the fire at around 6:45 p.m. Dukes said there was no structural damage following the fire. A Laneville firefighter confirmed to KTK News that gas has been turned off since. Now, if you go ahead and look at the B-roll on your screen, you can see small fires starting in that area, and you can see a lot of burnt down trees. It is very fortunate that there were no injuries that occurred in this, and I just read the story. It seems like there was fast response from local firefighters and volunteer firefighters, but as you can see, there is some damage done in that area. Alrighty, well, we are going to go ahead and take our first break of the show. When we come back, I believe that Braden will be joining us for some weather, and we will get into seeing what the weather is going to look like for Friday and also the rest of our weekend. I will see you right back after the break. Hello and welcome back to KETK Plus. I know I mentioned before the break that we were going to go over some weather, but we need to give Brandon just a few more minutes to get some of his weather stuff together. But I'm going to go ahead and just jump into one story real quick. And this story is about City of Tyler traffic updates. And let's just go ahead and jump right into it. The City of Tyler is updating road markings at 3 busy intersections as part of its annual road safety enhancement project. These updates include the addition of new turn lanes, bike lanes, and parking spaces. Oh, sorry about that, y'all. I totally forgot to bring up a clip for you. I know you don't just want to look at me the whole time. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Okay. Traffic engineer with the City of Tyler, Cameron Williams, said, quote, "Our goal with these updates is to make Tyler's roads safer and more intuitive for everyone who uses them. The intersections affected, including West Houston Street and Fair Park Drive, where a new turn lane, bike lane, and parking spaces have been added. This area is near the Rose Garden, Brookshire Center, and football stadium. On Reek Road between South Broadway Avenue and New Copeland Road, a two-way left turn lane has been introduced to address a history of run-off-road crashes. Additionally, a turn lane has been removed at the Walmart driveway on Silo Road to better reflect current driving patterns and improve traffic flow. According to the city, these changes are expected to enhance safety and reduce confusion at intersections, contributing to a more efficient transportation network in Tyler." Alrighty, y'all. Well, it seems like Braden is ready. We're going to jump into a quick break, and then we're going to head right back, and we'll get you that weather. Stay with us. Hello and welcome back to KTK Plus. I am joined with KTK meteorologist Braden Seo, and we are going to be going over some of today's weather and some weather that's going on throughout the week. Now, Braden, I did hear that it hit 100 degrees yesterday, and there might be a chance of hitting today, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday we did indeed hit
Hmm.
100 degrees here at the Tyler Airport and likely going to do it again this afternoon. So it is going to be another hot one, but there is a little bit of relief horizon.
Okay, well, I mean, let's just go ahead and get right into it and see what weather you have for us this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a view right now from atop the Plaza Tower showing you a little bit of cloud cover that we have in the sky. But other than that, things are quiet and warm right now. Temperature sitting in the lower 80s, a light breeze, and that dew point in the upper 60s. As we look here at what we're seeing on the satellite picture, we've got a little bit of shower activity down towards southeastern Texas there along the coast. That is really it as far as any rain goes across the state and even some shower activity in the Texas Panhandle. As far as that front goes, it will eventually make its way here into East Texas this weekend, giving us about a 10-degree drop in those temperatures from what we've seen here, especially over the past 48 hours or so. Already 88 in DFW, 82 in Houston and San Antonio, 83 in both Tyler and in Lufkin. Morning, as we look here at what we're seeing across East Texas in general, we are sitting in the lower 80s for most of us already this morning. Going to go up from here about another 15 degrees or so, potentially being right there around 100 for those highs. It is going to be a toasty afternoon out there, and we will see those heat index values maybe as high as 110 degrees in some spots. And for that reason, the National Weather Service has advisory through this afternoon. We also have an extreme heat warning up for Casabooie County, so that includes places like Atlanta, Linden, Texarkana, New Boston. Those areas are under that extreme today. Here's a look at those temperatures as we go into tonight. Lows will be in the 70s. It'll be warm and humid out there. Then we'll start to see those rain chances up, especially by tomorrow. So here's a look at those temperatures that we had yesterday: 100 in Tyler, 99 in Longview, 8 in Lufkin. Today, forecasting 100 in Tyler, 101 in Longview, and 99 in Lufkin. So it's going to be hot, maybe even a degree or two hotter in some locations today than it was yesterday. Then we'll see those temperatures down into the lower 90s as we go through the next 7 days. So by this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, lower 90s expected. Then we're right up next to average as we head into next week. Here's a look at those rain chances, and they will be on the rise as we go into this weekend, especially for your Friday and Saturday. Start to see them go down as we head into next week. So let's look here at Futurecast. It does show that potential for some scattered showers and a couple of storms as we go through today, particularly in some of our eastern counties. Then we'll see a break tonight before things start to get more active going into the day on Friday with scattered showers and storms expected. Then, as we look here at what we're seeing for our Saturday, we'll be looking at a pretty similar story with some showers and a storm possible in the morning, then, especially during the afternoon. That's when the best chance for some showers and storms. And then, as we look here into Sunday, we'll have some lingering chances with a couple of isolated storms possible during the afternoon hours. Here are the rainfall totals up to a half an inch potentially here across East Texas, even some isolated higher totals. Certainly, if you get under one of those heavier storms, you can quick into that. Here's a look across the Gulf right now, showing that we're quiet. We're really looking at much in the way of cloud cover out there. No tropical development is expected in the next 7 days. So good to go out in the tropics. So for today, 100 degrees, partly cloudy. It is going to be hot. We'll look for about a 20% of an isolated storm or two. Tonight, we'll see those rain chances early, partly cloudy and dry, warm at lows in the 70s. Here is a look at what we're seeing for you as far as that 7 day forecast goes. And it does show that scattered storms will be possible both Friday and Saturday. Go into Sunday, those chances do go down, those temperatures go back up next week. Mid 90s expected Tuesday. And then across Deep East Texas, we'll be looking at a pretty similar story overall, but we'll have rain chances extending into the middle part of next week. It does look like the highest rain.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Braden, for all that information. I did catch that you said there's going to be about maybe about a half inch of rain in some of our counties over here in
Mhm.
East Texas. Is that really considered a lot of rain or no?
For this time of the year, certainly that's beneficial
Hmm.
rainfall because
Okay.
normally we're pretty dry unless we get tropical. So if we can squeeze out a good inch or so here across East Texas, that will certainly help with all the dryness.
Okay. Is this anything that folks should be concerned about, or is it just kind of just going to be some helpful rain that's going to be going on?
Definitely just going to be some beneficial rainfall, and nothing to be too concerned about. Not expecting crazy weather or any flooding or anything like that. So overall, just beneficial rain and cooler temperature.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Braden, for joining us. It's really good to have you on the show as always. And when we come back, we are going to be reviewing some we're going to be going over the Cody Harris interview. When we come back, he's got some bills to go over as far as East Texas water rights, and we are going to catch that interview right after we come back from the break. See you then. Hello and welcome back to KETK Plus. As I said before we went into the break, we are going to go over the State Representative Cody Harris bills that he is introducing. He is introducing 4 bills into the state legislature that are all about East Texas water rights and all about these issues concerning, like, high capacity water wells and stuff that's going around. Excuse me, sorry, y'all. It's kind of a tongue twister morning, that are going around East Texas and that are affecting a lot of people in the area. Let's go ahead and show you a clip of what I'm talking about here as I kind of review what's going on and just kind of give you some background to these bills so that way, when we get into the interview, you're not just kind of going in blind. So let's get started off. State Representative Cody Harris of Palestine has introduced 4 new bills aimed at addressing water rights issues in East Texas. The proposed legislation seeks to establish updated regulations on groundwater usage, a move that Harris believes is necessary to protect local resources. Earlier this month, Harris, who serves as the chairman of the Natural Resources Committee, hosted an 11-hour meeting to hear from industry experts and residents affected by current water regulations. The bills aim to regulate the amount of water that can be pumped from an area and empower groundwater districts to deny wells based on usage. Harris has been in discussions with Governor Greg Abbott about including these bills in a special session, contingent on gaining more support from both the House and Senate. One of the bills, House Bill 215, changes the rule of capture and creates liability on an entity that pumps over 25,000 gallons of water per day and the pumping damages its neighbors, according to Harris. House Bill 216 states that a groundwater conservation district may not approve an application for a well if the production and export of all the wells that the applicant applied for a total of more than 5% of the modeled available groundwater for the conservation district. House Bill 217 provides liability protection for groundwater conservation districts to deny a permit based on the long-term damage to the aquifer. House Bill 218 requires 2/3 of the surrounding groundwater conservation districts to approve an export permit, no longer leaving the decision to only one groundwater district. Once again, those are the bills that are being introduced, and those are all written by Harris, and these are from Cody Harris. The outcome of these legislative efforts could significantly impact water management and rights in East Texas, with potential changes to how groundwater is regulated and protected. Now that we have some background info on that, let's go ahead and jump straight into Cody Harris's interview. I will say this is a long interview, 17 minutes, about 18 minutes. So, grab some popcorn and get ready to listen.
We met yesterday and we'll meet again tomorrow. In a special session, it's a lot different where while committees are happening, especially when we're doing something to create legislation in response to a big tragedy, then we have to take some time to really, make sure we're developing the right policy. So that's taken some time. We've got the hearings going on with redistricting, and I think probably next week is when we will probably see legislation hit the floor.
Yes, I was definitely going to ask you about redistricting, but before we get into that, we can go ahead and talk about the four bills that you filed yesterday and announced on Facebook. So, can you tell me a little bit about them and how they're going to really help East Texans?
Absolutely. So, just to remind everybody, what we're dealing with is really one individual, one entity, Conservation Equity Management, who owns two different properties in East Texas. One of them being in Anderson and Henderson or Houston counties, and one of them being in Henderson County. And between those two different properties, they've submitted applications to drill over 40 different high capacity water wells that the stated intention is to export that water out of our area and sell it. And so through the committee hearing that I held at the Capitol a couple of weeks ago that lasted over 11 hours, what we discovered is, determining how much groundwater is available to each area is something that each groundwater management area does. And they project out on a 20-year basis what are the desired future conditions, and then based on that, decide what the available groundwater is. And so for Henderson and Anderson counties, it totals up. So all of the groundwater use that will be available in those two counties is 36,000 acre feet, roughly, plus or minus a few acre feet. Well, when you total up what Conservation Equity Management wants to pump out, it is well over that. It's around 50,000 acre feet of groundwater that they want to pump out of East Texas. And I don't think that any one entity should be able to capture all of the groundwater allotted to an entire aquifer for two whole counties and completely remove the ability for our area to do any sort of economic development or recruit new industries, build new homes, bring in new jobs. That's what that means. If one entity is allowed to take all of the groundwater, then that translates into shutting down the entire East Texas economy. And rest assured, this isn't the first one that's going to happen if this one is successful. If it's successful, then throughout East Texas, there will be other for-profit water pirates coming into East Texas trying to take our water and ship it out to other areas of the state. So that's why I've filed these four bills that I did. The first one basically redoes the rule of capture. The rule of capture says that if you own a piece of property, you can stick a well in the ground and pump as much water as you want. And if you take the water out from underneath your neighbor's property, doesn't matter. Whoever has the biggest well wins under the rule of capture. So in the first bill that I filed, House Bill 215, it modifies that and says if you're pumping over 25,000 gallons per day out of one well, then you no longer have the right of rule of capture if you're damaging your neighbor, if you're taking property or the water out from underneath your neighbor. So that's a massive change in state water law, and really is the strongest bill out of all of them that I filed. The next bill, House Bill 216, it says that no entity can take more than 5% of the modeled available groundwater. So back to what I was talking about a minute ago, if 36,000 acre feet of groundwater is allocated for all of Anderson and Henderson counties for the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer, no one applicant, no matter how many wells they have or they're applying for, can take more than 5%. It actually says that a groundwater conservation district may not approve those applications if it takes over 5% of the modeled available groundwater. That's a very strong bill that would definitely prevent this project from going forward. The third bill, it requires, so in a transfer project, so when somebody comes in and wants to pump water out of the groundwater conservation district to another area, even if it's over the county line to, in a different conservation district, then the bill would require not only the approval of the groundwater conservation district, but 2/3 of the groundwater conservation districts in that groundwater management area. So it brings in further accountability into that approval process and make sure that if it's good for all of East Texas, then we've got a much bigger say, much bigger oversight over that whole process. Then the fourth bill that I've filed has to do with litigation. Liability for groundwater conservation districts. Right now, if a groundwater conservation district denies an application for a production well or a transfer well, then they are absolutely going to get sued for a takings claim in court. And these companies worth billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, their game plan is to outlast the groundwater conservation district or drive them into bankruptcy. And so what this bill does is remove liability from those groundwater conservation districts if they deny an application based on the long-term health of the underlying aquifer.
Okay. Okay. And so let me go through that. That was great. We just went through a lot of the questions on each of those. Going back to the first one that you said it's really the strongest, hard-hitting one. Can you tell me how it might help people in Red Town who are going through, that's the location of where that one developer wants to, or has land already and wants to build things out? Can you tell us how it might help them in that area?
Sure. So if that bill were to pass, if it were to get added to the call and pass both chambers of the House and Senate and signed by the governor, then effectively what would happen is if Mr. Bass pumped his, drilled his well, started pumping water, and created a cone of depression in that aquifer that reached out over to his neighbors, which we know it will. We know that it's going to reach up to 50, maybe even 100 miles wide, a cone of depression, meaning that the water table or the aquifer level will drop that far away from the well site. So if that happens, then whoever has been damaged inside that cone of depression would then have the right to sue conservation equity management for a damage for taking their property.
Okay. Okay. And so going back to the 11-hour Natural Resources Committee, which I watched through that, there were a lot of people who were speaking. I mean, you heard from just industry experts, you heard from lawyers, but also from people from the area. So from that meeting, what did you take and put into these bills when you were writing them?
What I did was, it's not just my district or just East Texas that is facing the threat of having for-profit water. I hate to call them this, but pirates coming in to an area and pumping that water out, selling it somewhere else uh, for profit. And I don't begrudge anyone making money. I mean, that's what makes Texas so great is the ability to start new business and be successful. But under this particular business model, they are taking water out from underneath other people, and it's not only happening in East Texas. This is a statewide problem. That's one of the things that I took away from this from the 11-hour hearing. But primarily, the result of the 11-hour hearing was this is a long-term detriment to both East Texas and the rest of the state. One of the best testimonies that I think really caught the attention of uh, people I didn't expect it to was from Mr. Kevin Ward with the Trinity River Authority. And he explained how if you have overpumping in the Carrizo-Wilcox aquifer, that can basically reduce the flows of the Trinity River, which feeds into the reservoirs, providing the water supply for the entire greater Houston region. So you're talking about 8 million people who have their water being put at risk to profit one company in East Texas pumping water out and shipping it somewhere else. That was probably one of the biggest takeaways is that this is such a huge threat statewide, not just to our area.
Hmm. And so, do you have a message to the people? I mean, you announced this on Facebook yesterday. That's where I first saw it. But what is your message to people in this fight?
So I can't do this on my own. I'm giving it every effort that I can, but I need the support of the majority in both the House and the Senate. And I need to be able to take that to Governor Abbott and say, look, Governor, I know that you support us. You've got our back in East Texas. I have the support of both chambers of the legislature. Now we need you to add this to the special session call. And the way people can help is by contacting their state representative, their state senator, and asking them to sign on to these four bills. I will be walking around the Capitol every day that I'm here with a sign on sheet for members of the legislature to sign up and express their support.
Okay. And so, because you did post this on Facebook, can you tell me what has the reaction been just for people seeing what you posted?
It's overwhelming how unified the people of not only East Texas but our whole region. There are some in the High Plains region out in West Texas who the thought of changing the rule of capture is very, very scary. This is a law that's been in place for over 100 years. And so to change that means that other things are going to have to change. Some people might have to relocate wells, or we've got to think through how it might have adverse reactions. But on the whole, I think it's been viewed, checked this morning, by nearly 100,000 people. That one Facebook post. So it's getting a lot of interest. People throughout East Texas are obviously worked up, and I'm worked up with them. That's why I'm working so hard on this and putting all of my effort on it while I'm here at the Capitol for this special session. And I'll continue to. This isn't going to end during this special session. I'll conduct interim hearings throughout this interim on this subject matter. And whatever we don't get accomplished in the special session, I'm going to put all of my effort into during the regular session if the people choose to send me back.
Okay. And so, could you also give us an update on the process with the governor? I know you spoke with him before, just on getting this on the special session agenda.
Sure. Yeah. So went in and visited with the governor about it, and he's supportive. He's originally from East Texas. He's from Longview originally, and so he understands it, and he's supportive of what we're trying to do. Understands that we've got to protect groundwater, not just for the region that it's in, but for the entire state of Texas to be able to have water availability long into the future. And so, as part of that, while he is completely supportive, he wants to make sure that before he places something on the call, that it does have the support of both chambers. And I can't blame him for that at all. So that's why I'm willing to do the work on my end. And I'm asking for the people's help to call their lawmakers and get them on board as well.
Okay. And so what are you seeing right now when it comes to those lawmakers? I mean, at the meeting, the 11-hour meeting you had, there was a lot of people in that session. I heard you guys had to move to an even bigger room just to accommodate everyone.
That's right. Yeah. I'm very encouraged by the outreach that I've gotten so far from other state legislators, especially in the House. The signatures are coming. There's 150 members of the Texas House of Representatives, so I need to get at least 76. And as you know, rural members are outnumbered by urban and suburban members. So we really need everybody's help getting this to not just be. It can't be just an East Texas thing. If it's just an East Texas thing, we're not going to win and get the support that's required. So right now I'm encouraged, but we're on a very short time clock. We've got about 3 or 4 weeks left in the special session, and I'm going to be focusing all my time and attention on this.
Okay, that is good to know. And so, um, I guess some other topics that you guys will be covering in this special session. Is there anything you would like to add about redistricting? I know that's really top of mind for a lot of people right now.
We're going through the committee process, getting the input of the public, and put all of my trust in my colleagues who are on that committee. And since I'm not on that committee, I'm not part of redrawing the maps or anything like that. I really don't have much to add to that conversation right now.
Okay. And I know you just said it will be what you're fighting for the most, but when you go back into this session, what are some of the other big issues you'll be tackling along with this groundwater bills that you'll be pushing through?
One of the biggest issues that I think we need to tackle is property taxes. We keep doing things every legislative session and putting billions and billions of dollars towards uh, property tax relief. But the simple truth is the state of Texas doesn't collect a single penny in property taxes. That's all from municipalities, counties, and school districts, local taxing jurisdictions who actually set the tax rate and collect a property tax. So there are plenty of things that we can continue to do to drive down the cost of property taxes. My preference in the long run is to completely eliminate property taxes in exchange for a higher sales tax rate. We've already banned a state income tax in Texas, so that's completely off the table. I was proud to co-author and support that bill to eliminate the threat of ever having an income tax in Texas. But we definitely need to be doing more to lower property taxes for everybody.
Okay. And so, is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you would want to go over, especially when it relates to those four bills we were talking about before? Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think we went pretty in depth on them. I would kind of ask you, do I need to go back and explain things in a simpler manner on any of those bills, or is it easy enough to understand? Because water law can get very, very complex.
It is a complex issue. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I thought it was well explained. Is there, I guess, a good way to ask this is what are the bullet points that people should know? Maybe the top three bullet points that if people were to look into this, it will help them really understand the fight and what you're doing to help in that.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So if you boil the four bills down that I've filed into very simple bullet points, number one, what it does is classify high capacity groundwater wells and puts them in a completely different class that does not have the rule of capture, the right of capture, meaning it can't just take all of the water that it wants. Everyone else, sorry about your luck. It now creates a liability where if someone does come in and put a high capacity groundwater well in over 25,000 gallons per day, then the neighboring landowners can sue for a taking of their property, being their groundwater. Then the next thing that we do is strengthen groundwater conservation districts and give them the teeth that they lack right now. We give them the permission legislatively to deny wells based on taking more than a fair share of the groundwater in the particular aquifers. And then we provide liability protection for them in the event that they do say no.
All right.
We met yesterday and we'll meet again tomorrow.
Well, there you have it. There's that full interview with State Representative Cody Harris. Now, we are going to go ahead and jump into a break a little bit here, but if you want to learn more about these bills and about what Cody Harris has to say regarding them, we have a full digital article available on KTK.com. You can go ahead and visit that, but stick around with us because once we get back from the break, we have a few stories that are going on in Tyler and Smith County. I'll see you when we get there. Manicure business that had its license, excuse me, that has been fined by the city of Tyler. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. That is not the right story. Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation has fined a Tyler manicure school and revoked their license after a complaint alleged they didn't keep student records. The American Manicure School of Art in Tyler has been ordered to pay a $15,500 administrative penalty after they reportedly did not keep a student's documents for 48 months after their withdrawal or termination, according to the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, TDLR. The TDLR stated that the school lacked a refund policy for unused student payments, failed to report a number of hours earned, and did not comply with a prior departmental order. As a result of their findings, the TDLR said the school's private school license was revoked. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our second story right here. Oh, sorry, that is the wrong one again. I'm just having a day, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. This is about a Tyler hospital who had to turn on their generators after the power line was cut. UT Health Tyler and Christus Mother Frances Hospital have confirmed that parts of the facilities are running on generator power as of Wednesday after a power line was cut. According to UT Health East Texas, a local gas company was doing routine maintenance work in Tyler when they cut an electrical line, causing partial power outages. UT Health East Texas said in a statement, quote, "Our emergency generators are fully operational for affected areas, and all critical systems, including life support equipment and patient monitoring systems, are functioning without interruption. Patient care and safety remain our highest priority at this time. Essential services are continuing and our clinical teams are closely monitoring all areas of the hospital. Christus Health confirmed that its hospital is also operating normally, but still has certain areas using generator power. Christus Health said, quote, "Earlier today, Christus Mother Frances Hospital experienced a power surge that temporarily impacted some areas of the facility. The hospital is operating normally with isolated areas running on the generator power. We continue to monitor the situation to ensure uninterrupted care and patient safety." UT Health East Texas said they are working with local technicians to safely restore its facilities to power as soon as possible. UT Health East Texas also said in a statement, quote, "Patient care and safety remains our highest priority at this time. Essential services are continuing and our clinical teams are closely monitoring all areas of the hospital," end quote. And once again, that is from UT Health East Texas. Alrighty, y'all. Well, that's all the stories I have for today. I sadly have to bring the show to a close as I'm running up on time here, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on KTK Plus today. It is always fun to host these shows, and I really hope that you get to see me in the future. But as far as this week goes, you will not see me tomorrow. I will hopefully be back next week, and we can go over more fun East Texas stories. All right, thank y'all. Have a great day.